Okay, so for this video, I'm just gonna go over my thoughts on all the Monsterverse movies before rewatching them. Most of these movies I've actually only watched when they were in theaters though, but I'm gonna rewatch them all after making this video and give an updated ranking. Also, I've watched all of the Monsterverse movies except the Monarch show, but I'll watch that whenever I'm rewatching these movies. So starting with Godzilla 2014, it's a little bit of context. This was not my first Godzilla movie I'd seen. Um, I'd seen some of the movies before, specifically some of the Heisei movies I remember, like the Mothra and Batra one I remember watching on TV way before ever watching Godzilla 2014. And I watched this movie when I was around 10 or 11. And I remember liking it, but not loving it. And I think it was because there was not enough monster action for me. I really liked Godzilla in it, but I thought he should have like been on the screen more. And I liked the Mutos, but they were just like not my favorite monster at the time. But I've actually grown to like them more, especially like some of the cool stuff like about them, like with the sexual dimorphism and stuff. But like I just didn't really know about that kind of stuff or didn't think about it at the time when watching the movie. Um, and I just remember not at all caring about the people in this movie, and I think that's kind of a common thing with the MonsterVerse movies. But even when I was that young, I remember not caring about it, and I just wanted to see more monster action. So honestly, I think I'd give this like a B tier if I was to rank it, and I will show a ranking of all these movies at the end. And I did like some things about it, like when Godzilla was on screen, he was awesome. And like I said, I've grown to like the Mutos more. And I did like the kind of darker, more serious tone that was in this movie that I don't think is as present in some of the later Monsterverse movies. But I did really like this movie. But I definitely thought there could have been more monsters in it. Or more monster action, I should say. But, you know, maybe with rewatching the movie, I'll have some different thoughts. But that's kind of what I thought at the time. And next for the next movie, Kong Skull Island. This was the only one of these movies that I did not watch in theaters. I've always been more of a Godzilla person, so I didn't really want to watch it. Well, I kind of did, I remember, but I just never went and watched it because I think it was like a movie I wanted to watch, but not so bad that I was like asking to go to the theaters to watch it. So I just never ended up watching this while it was in theaters. But I remember actually watching this after a fishing trip with some of my cousins, and they had like one of the car DVD players, and I just watched it in their car, and I actually really liked the movie. I remember. This was before I knew it like connected with the Godzilla movie. So if I knew then at the time, I probably definitely would have watched it. But I really liked this movie. The island was really cool. The variety of monsters was great. And I remember really liking this movie overall. Even though I was way more of a Godzilla person, I think I actually enjoyed this movie more than the Godzilla 2014 movie. And now Godzilla King of the Monsters. This is going to be kind of a hot take, I think. But when I watched this movie in theaters, I absolutely loved it. And, like, when this movie came out, I was way more familiar with some of the older monsters, like King Ghidorah and stuff. So, like, I absolutely love this movie. With all the older monsters, but, like, with updated styles, like King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan. And King Ghidorah, I absolutely love King Ghidorah in this movie. Like, the scene where he, like, makes his, like, roar or scream or whatever on top of the volcano or whatever is just amazing. And so, a movie with, like, a lot of, like I said, of the original monsters, but in their MonsterVerse style. And just, there was so much nice monster fighting action in this movie. I just loved it. And like I said, I loved Ghidorah in it. I loved all the original monsters, but Ghidorah, oh my gosh, was amazing. The design, amazing. And I loved, like, the whole, like, new alpha monster thing. I thought that was such a cool thing. And, like, him being an invasive species, I thought was really cool. And also this movie, this was another big thing. This movie was amazing visually. I thought there were so many things that just looked like perfect. Like I said, the Ghidorah on the volcano scene and just so many more. And the monsters felt like actual monsters. I remember they like felt huge and dangerous and really powerful. And they felt like the real center of this movie to me, which I love because I just... Honestly, like, if I'm watching a Godzilla movie, I'm wanting to watch it for the monsters. I'm not really caring about, like, the human plot that much. But, I mean, obviously you want a good human plot, but I'm mainly watching a Godzilla movie for the monsters. So, for me, this is actually an easy S, which I think the King of the Monsters is actually one of the lowest rated movies of the MonsterVerse movies, but I still loved it. Next, we have Godzilla vs. Kong. I watched this in theaters as well, and I remember really liking the movie. Having Godzilla and Kong in the same movie again was great. And their fight was awesome, and I actually really liked Mechagodzilla being the big bad that they teamed up to fight against. But I personally wasn't crazy with the design. Like, I definitely, like, prefer most of the other older Mechagodzilla designs, which I know is kind of whatever, because I know a lot of people actually really like the Monsterverse design. And I didn't hate it, but, like, I definitely, like, prefer, like, Kiryu's look. And also, one particular scene that really stuck out to me, like this was one of the scenes that's like stuck out to me the most out of any MonsterVerse movies, was Mechagodzilla and the Skullcrawler scene. I remember that scene was crazy, and like you actually felt bad for the Skullcrawler, and that was like one of like those, I guess, like blood curdling scenes in the whole MonsterVerse. I just remember that scene was like so like, I guess, intense or something. It was such an interesting scene. But yeah, I actually really like this movie. And I like how they showed who would actually win in a fight of Godzilla and Kong, which I think they had the right winner. But overall, yeah, I just really like this movie. This was probably my second favorite of the movies, and would probably give it A. And like I said, I didn't watch Monarch Legacy Monster, so we're just going to skip over that. But I do plan on rewatching it. And then for the most recent movie, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, and I watched this in theaters as well. And I like this movie a lot, but it felt almost like a little goofy to me, and in some parts, I like most of the monsters. When Godzilla was on screen, he was great, and I did actually kind of like his new upgrade. I kind of like the pink. I mean, it's not my favorite upgrade, it's not my favorite of his more recent designs, but I didn't hate it or anything. And Kong definitely felt like more of the main character in this movie. But I really like some of the other monsters as well. Mothra was good in the little time she was on screen. Shimo was awesome. Shimo's one of my favorite like new original monsters in the MonsterVerse. Probably her and the Mutos are like my top two right now as far as like the newer MonsterVerse movies that weren't like an original monster that they just like updated. Tiamat was also really cool, even though she was on screen for such little time. And I felt really kind of somewhat neutral of Scar King as a villain. I didn't have like a strong liking to him as a villain. But he definitely kind of made sense as a villain, especially with like the whole leading the Kongs thing. But I did really like that, actually. I thought that was really cool, seeing Kong interact with the old like apes and stuff, and the little one especially. I can't think of his name, but I thought that was really cool. So I did kind of like this movie as far as like Kong's interaction with the other apes, even though I wasn't crazy about Scar King himself. And like going back to what I said about this movie, kind of feeling like kind of goofy in scenes, like the Hollow Earth flip scene, I thought was just kind of like goofy, seeming like it was like kind of like this just does not feel at all like how the 2014 movie felt. And then like just that the scene like where the glove was just there and like perfectly fit Kong and had like all the stuff he needed, like that just seemed like, I don't know, a little goofy. Like I said to me, like out of the movies, this one felt like the least serious tone to me, at least as far as what I remember. But overall, though, this was a really fun movie. But like I said, the tone just felt way less serious to me than any of the previous movies. So I'd probably give this another B tier, but probably higher than the other two B tier movies. So that would have it as, this is how the tier list ends up, as you all can see now. King of the Monsters, number 1 at the S tier, which I know is kind of a hot take, and a lot of people will probably disagree. Godzilla vs. Kong in the A tier. And then all the remaining 3 in the B tier of Godzilla X Kong and the New Empire, Kong Skull Island, and then Godzilla 2014. And I know this list is probably very different for the majority of people, especially with King of the Monsters being as high as it is. But this is based on what I remember of the movies, or about the movies. And this list could definitely turn out very different for me after I rewatch these movies. Okay, now in the next few weeks, I do plan on watching all the MonsterVerse movies. I did mention in the Gigavash video or in the Godzilla video game video that I did recently pick this up. But yeah, that's pretty much the plan. I'm gonna watch the original Godzilla, and then I'm gonna watch all 3 of these movies. Godzilla, or in order: Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, and then Godzilla vs. Kong. And then also I'm gonna try to watch the Monarch series and Godzilla vs. Kong, or Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. But yeah, I did recently pick this up at FYE for around $16 or $17. But yeah, really happy about this. I'm really excited to watch all 3 of these movies. I know not a ton of people buy DVDs anymore, but I personally like having DVDs, as you all saw in my Godzilla collection video. And also, just not a ton of these are actually on a streaming services that I have. I think they were, most of these were on a streaming service, but they weren't ones that I had. I think I've got Netflix, Hulu, and Prime, and maybe another thing, but I don't think any of them were on any of the stuff I had, or at least not all of them. So I decided to just get this. And like I said, I just like having DVDs. But I am going to go on vacation this week, so I plan on watching at least these 4 while I'm on vacation. And maybe we'll try to even watch the other series while I'm out there too. But definitely going to try to watch these 4 at least in the car ride there. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the MonsterVerse movies. And like I said, that list could easily change after I rewatch it. Like something like Godzilla 2014 I haven't seen in years. And most of those movies, like I said, I've only watched when they were in theaters, so it'll definitely be fun to rewatch these movies again, especially like King of the Monsters specifically, I'm definitely going to be interested to see what I think, because I know a lot of people are not crazy about the movie, but I remember loving it. So I'm going to see if it's just like me just having like, I don't know, like feelings about the movie watching it the first time, or if it's just I just disagree with people's opinions. I don't know. But I'm really interested to watch this movie again, because I remember absolutely loving that movie in theaters. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and can't wait to see watch these movies again and see how my opinions change or stay the same. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, I'd love to know what your all's thoughts are on the Monsterverse, and can't wait to see how this tier list ends up after rewatching these movies.